Today, we're diving into one of the biggest constitutional puzzles facing India right now, delimitation. Now, it sounds super technical, right? Just redrawing some political maps. But really, it's about the fundamental balance of power in the world's largest democracy.
And at the heart of this whole story is a ticking clock. For half a century, India's been living with a kind of political ceasefire that basically froze the number of parliamentary seats each state gets. But that truce, which was designed to help the country manage its incredible growth, is about to end. And that brings us to the absolute core question of this entire explainer. When this freeze finally thaws, is the power shift that follows going to strengthen that basic idea of one person, one vote? Or could it actually strain the very fabric of the nation, maybe even to its breaking point? Okay, so before we get into all the drama and the conflict, let's just get the basics down first. What exactly is delimitation?
In simple terms, delimitation is all about fairness. As people move around and populations change over time, you have to redraw the lines for elections. The whole point is to make sure that every member of parliament, every MP, represents roughly the same number of people. It's how the Constitution tries to make sure that core democratic idea, one person, one vote, actually means something.
So you might be wondering, why on earth are we still using population data from over 50 years ago? Well, if you look at the timeline, back in 1976, India made this huge decision to freeze the number of seats. And the main goal was to encourage states to really focus on family planning, without them having to worry that they'd lose political power if their population didn't grow as fast as other states. That freeze got extended, and now, finally, it's set to expire in 2026.
And that 50-year freeze, well, it's led us straight to where we are today. Because over those decades, India's population map has changed so dramatically that it's almost like we have two different Indias, creating this huge divide between the northern and southern states. And this gets you to the two sides of the coin. The northern states, where the populations have grown a lot more, are basically saying, look, this system is broken. Our MPs represent way more people than the MPs in the south. That's just not democratic. But then the southern states fire back, saying, wait a minute, we did what the country asked. We controlled our population growth and focused on development. Are you really going to punish us for our success and just water down our voice in the nation? Now, this whole debate has been simmering for a long time, but it's not some academic discussion anymore. Recent moves in Parliament have thrown gasoline on the fire, turning a future problem into a right here, right now political battle. So how's this all playing out? Well, the government has introduced what's called the 131st Amendment Bill. And it's a big deal. It suggests expanding the Lok Sabha from 543 seats to over 800. That's the first huge step. But the strategy also involves a really clever political link. And here's where it gets really complicated and, honestly, pretty smart politically. The landmark Women's Reservation Act, the one that reserves a third of seats for women, is now legally tied to getting this delimitation done. So you've got this hugely popular, progressive social reform that can't happen until this deeply controversial federal issue gets resolved. That creates a ton of pressure to just get it done. So if this rebalancing happens, and it's based purely on today's population numbers, what does that power shift actually look like? Well, the numbers, they're pretty shocking. Okay, let's just imagine this. If you took the current 543 seats and just handed them out again based only on population, for the 5 southern states, that's Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, and Karnataka, we're talking a collective loss of 24 seats. Just gone. Now flip that coin. Just 4 states in the north, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, and Rajasthan, would collectively gain a whopping 43 seats. You can see right away how absolutely massive this transfer of power would be. So what does this all mean? The ultimate result is pretty clear. The entire political center of gravity of the country could just shift north. And that raises some serious fears in the South that national policies on everything from where money gets invested to how resources are shared could be decided almost entirely by a coalition of northern states, leaving southern interests on the sidelines. So, with the stakes this high, you can bet the search is on for a new national compromise, some way to bring representation up to date without, tearing the country apart at the seams. And this leads us to the billion-dollar question, doesn't it? Is there a magic formula out there that can balance the democratic need for fair representation with the federal need to keep all states feeling valued and united? Thankfully, people aren't just shrugging their shoulders.
There are a lot of ideas on the table. One of the most popular is a hybrid model. So instead of just population, maybe that's only 50% of the equation. The other half could be things like a state's size, its land area, or even how much it contributes to the economy. People are also looking at what other countries do. The European Union has this fascinating idea called digressive proportionality. It basically means, yeah, bigger countries get more seats, but smaller countries get more seats per person. It's a way to make sure the little guys don't get totally drowned out. And finally, a really crucial idea is to make the Rajya Sabha, the upper house, stronger, to give states a more powerful check on a lower house that's dominated by population. But hold on, there's another fascinating layer to this whole thing. Some economists are pointing out that demographics aren't static. They argue that as southern states keep doing well economically, more and more people from other parts of India will move there for jobs, and that migration could naturally start to boost their populations, which might soften the blow from lower birth rates over time.
So as we look ahead, it's pretty clear that getting through this is going to take a huge amount of political courage and a real willingness to compromise from everybody involved.
The big takeaway here is that this is so much more than just a technical job for map makers and number crunchers. This is a defining moment for India. It's a test of its maturity, of its ability to adapt and to balance the competing needs of all its incredibly diverse people and regions. In the end, this whole delimitation dilemma really boils down to this one final critical question. Can India figure out a way to honor the sacred principle of democratic representation while also protecting the delicate federal balance that holds the entire union together? The answer? Well, it's going to shape the future of Indian politics for generations to come. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.